Okay, this video is going to cover building the Heathkit model HF-151 personal computer. You can see the front cover of the manual there. The first thing we're going to start with is a soldering course that actually covers how to solder multiple layer boards. And it says it's in packs 1-4, and the box comes with a layout that shows where all the parts are located at. Okay, we're after this one right here. So this is what, here I'll move the manual out of the way so you can see the layout of the box. Nice Heathkit box. Okay, we've got pack 1 here. Okay, cheat sheet here. And there's pack 1. Pack 2 is here. Pack 3 is here. And pack 4 is here. And then the final pack is under all of this stuff. So let's go ahead and get the contents of pack 1 out and available. I'm ready to work with. Let's see what we have in here. And this is labels. Look at that. That's something I might have tossed in there later. I don't know if that's part of it. Let's see here, what do we got? And because I'm doing this real time, it's not going to be fancy and edited and overproduced. It's going to be me stumbling through this, trying to understand what's going on. Following parts from pack 1. 2169. What do we have going on here? Oh, look at that. There's something you don't see. Something I didn't realize. They've actually supplied solder in the kit. Now keep in mind, this kit was originally sold in 1984 and was never built. And that's really strange. It looks like the only thing that's in that section is solder. So, okay. That means that this pack may include the pieces I need for this first step. And there's a resistor and an LED and a sealed box and some sockets. What else do we have in here? Looks like some solder wick. Yeah, fine brand solder wick. And then some test posts, it looks like. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a pencil here and let's work our way through what we've got. We're looking for one 330 ohm resistor, quarter 5 watt, or quarter watt 5%, which is what we've got right here. So we will tick that one off. And I'm going to set that to the side so I don't lose it. We have a circuit board. And I'm going to assume, oh no, it's a Heathkit magnifier. Look at that. I don't see the circuit board. I don't know if it got lost or wasn't originally part of the kit. Well, it had to have been originally part of the kit, but it looks like it may have been lost. That would be that would be a shame. Oh, no, 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 wait. I just didn't look far enough. That was my own fault. Found another bag of solder, and this is the soldering test board. This is used to teach you how to solder a 4-layer board, because most of the boards in this kit are 4-layer, if not all of them. Okay, so we have our circuit board. So we'll tick that off. Okay. I wanted to note on the manual that it actually does tell you, where's it at? Orange, brown, brown. So you don't even have to look it up, which is kind of convenient, I guess. Next up is an LED, which we have right here. So set that aside. We have 3 pins, and the part number for those pins is 26213, as you can see right there. And those are the pins. They're test points. And 5 16-pin jumper plugs, which are going to be these little dudes right here. Okay. And essentially what this is, it's called a shunt or a jumper plug. It's the same size as a 16-pin chip, but as you can see, each leg is shorted together across from one another. You can use this in place of a 16-pin dip switch that would have 8 switches on it. Anyway, there's one of them, and 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have all 5 of those. 5 16-pin sockets. There's 2, 4, and 5. We have one IC puller, which is this neat little bent bit of metal to pull the chips out if we need to. Okay. And then the desoldering braid, which I already showed you. So let's go ahead and get this thing soldered together. It actually shows you in this section of the manual here, which I may or may not be able to get it scanned. I don't know. Probably by the end of this series I may. It just shows you how to solder the resistors up, or solder, each component, and talks about using this wire nicking or the solder nicking method. If you can read that, which shows you to nick the solder. So when you go to the next section, it shows correctly using the right amount of solder to completely fill the hole. And at the end, you'll end up with a column of solder covering the entire thing. Okay. So, and I should also note that each component, or each step, individual step, has a little check mark in it. And I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. Pictorial aid to the illustration booklet. Yeah, we've got this other thing called an illustration booklet. It's actually pretty impressive. It's this thing here, and it's a pretty big fold out. But it shows, and this is pictorial A that it's talking about, and it shows the correct orientation of the board as to how they want you to solder it up. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. And I'll get my soldering station powered up here. And I'm not going to follow the soldering instructions exactly, because I've been soldering for a very, very, very long time. In fact, I think I burned myself on my first soldering iron when I was 8 years old, so I've been around the block a few times. Which is kind of tragic, but there it is. Geez, I don't know if I should use their solder or not. I mean, that's like 31-year-old solder. I don't know. I think I'm going to use it just because I can. Okay, I've got my little baggie of solder opened here. And that's really fine solder too. What is that? It's 0.25 inch wire diameter. So that's actually less than a 32nd. Is it? Yeah, 0313? Yeah, it's less than a 32nd. Okay, so the first step they want you to do is install a resistor. And the resistor goes right here. So we need to bend the leads over like so. And put that thing in there. And I suspect that this resistor, being the value that it is set at, is going to be used as a current limiter for... Boy, I just made a hash of that, didn't I? Didn't bend it right. Trying to get it centered. As a current limiting resistor for the LED that's all the way over here. But yeah, there's enough trace to get it all the way over there if you put power on the test points. So, okay. So, what we're going to do is get solder applied to those two things. Oops, move that over there. And make sure that that's... There we go. Tin that just a little bit. Oh, come on. There we go. There's one. And there's two. And I'm doing this without my magnifier. So, let's see here. Yep. Got solder coming through on both sides. So we're going to grab a pair of flush cutters. And clean that up. Like so. Okay, so we're check, right? Right, okay. So, and it talks about how to do the whole thing and whether or not you'll see rosin in the solder, which is kind of interesting. And now it wants to do all the IC sockets. Okay, so, and it talks about the cautioning of filling the whole contact with solder inside the body of the connector there, or the socket. We don't want to do that, because that way you wouldn't be able to put chips in there. Each one has a pin 1 orientation. If you look at the board, there's a dot there. Well, that dot lines up with the little notch in the end of the socket there. So that's what we're going to do. Put that in there like so, more or less. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one in on each end. That way the board is equally supported. Okay, you probably can't see it, but there are pins sticking up through the hole. And I'm going to reorient the camera just a little bit. Well, now I probably shouldn't do that. Oh, look at that. Heathkit magnifier. They saw me coming. So let's take a look at the Heathkit magnifier. Maybe that'll help me out. You even have to assemble the magnifier. Look at that. See? No, I just went and screwed that up. So we're going to start that part over. Get this other socket mounted back in here. And like I said, this isn't scripted or anything else like that. It's just, you get to watch it as it happens. So, there you go. So what we're going to do is we are going to tack down corners. And the reason that we do this is that tacking down two diagonally opposed corners will hold the socket down. So we can move it around and the boards, or the chip sockets won't move. Oh, sorry, that's really kind of hard to see, I suspect. And there we go. Now that's holding those two sockets in place, and you can see that they're nice and flush with the board. So let's go ahead and put the remaining sockets in there, making sure that we've got their orientation correct. Oops, almost messed that one up. That's kind of interesting. It's a different manufacturer socket, and instead of having a notch on the end of it, it has a white dot. The more you know, I guess, right? Okay, so we will carefully hold all those three up. And we will continue corner tacking. Okay, so we have all 5 sockets tacked into place and ready to solder in. I will spare you doing all 5 of those sockets, so I will be right back. Okay, now we've got all 5 sockets in. Yay. One thing you want to do is after you're done doing your soldering is inspect with a magnifying glass to make sure that all the solder joints are correctly done and there's no bridges, solder bridges between points, because that'll cause problems. So let's see, what is the next step? Okay, it is talking about the test pins, which are these things right here. So, gotta get a pair of scissors. And open up the package here. And I can almost hear some of the folks on the internet just screaming that I'm actually building a 31-year-old unbuilt computer kit. But you know what? They didn't manufacture these kits to live in a box. They made them to get built. So damn it, that's what I'm doing. And that's test points 2 and 3, and test point 1 is on this end of the board. So let's go ahead and get those done. And they're inserted all the way down like so. There's a little ridge. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little ridge right there. Let's put it in front of the paper and a little more contrast to that. See a little ridge that gets inserted like so. And it's actually a pretty stiff fit, so we'll go ahead and we'll put that one in there. And that one in there. And gently set the board down and watch it fall over. And we will carefully solder those things in. If you're curious, I'm using a Hakko soldering iron, the FX888. And as far as I'm concerned, it is one of the better choices in soldering irons on the market right now. They are very, and that pin fell out. They are very, very good. I have both the FX888, which is the analog version, that has a little knob on it, and I have the D, which is, of course, digital. Okay, let's try this one again here. Get some solder in that. There's a lot of metal there, so there's a lot of mass to heat up. Blow it gently to get that solder to solidify. And we'll do the last one here. Get that nice and float in there. A bit of blowing on that, and there we go. We have our 3 test points. And yeah, they're not square, but deal with it. It is what it is. Okay. And next, they want the LED installed. Okay. Now, LEDs have a polarity to them. And if you look at this, this has, you know, a little hand for contrast. It's got a short lead and a long lead. And that's the polarity of it. And I don't remember exactly the positive and negative, but that's where it goes. And the short lead goes in like so. There we go. Open those up a little bit to capture that part. Oops, as it falls over. That's okay. I have a gadget that I use to hold boards when I'm soldering them up. It's not camera friendly really, so I'm kind of having to do this at a disadvantage, but we'll get the job done. That's that. One thing I've noticed actually with this older Kester solder, it has a different odor than the solder that I'm used to working with, which I find kind of interesting. Might be the chemical makeup in the rosin, probably. So there we go. That's completely all nice and assembled. And now they want the shorting plugs installed, which are these. And it goes in the manual goes into how to bend these over and get them installed. Okay, it's really simple. It goes in just like any other chip. And let's see, there are numbers on this. Yeah, well, there's a little dot, and you can probably can't see that, but there's a little dot right there that indicates pin 1. So we'll put the first one in, like so. And there we go. And there's the first one. Let's see, where's your little dot? And it's more than a dot. It's actually a hole in the injection mold for the shunt to make it more easily identifiable, because a tiny little mark. Like there's a little mark here. That's just an ejector pin from the injection mold. That's not really an indicator of pin 1. But here you've actually got a kind of a hole in there that shows that. So get that in there. And get that one in there. And there we go. And that is the assembled soldering test board. So let's see what they want us to do with it now that we have it put together. It just wants to do to hook a power supply up to it to check the LED and the resistor, and I'm not going to do that right now because I'm not set up for it, but here in a few minutes we'll go ahead and we'll do that and complete that section of the manual. Okay, this is going to be kind of fun. I have my dirt cheap meter that I got at Harbor Freight. What they want you to do first is measure between test point 1 and test point 3 to make sure that it's greater than 1,000 ohms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my meter to continuity because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a short. So we'll go there and we'll go there. And if you look at the meter, it says 1,366 ohms right about. That's probably really hard to see. So next, we're going to go ahead and hook a power supply up to it. Or no. Next we need to test point 2 and test point 3 for 330 ohms, which is that current limiting resistor I installed first. So we've got test point 2 and 3. Change the meter. Whoops. It's not going to read on that scale. And there we go. 329 ohms, which is close enough to 330 plus or minus 5%. We're good. Next, power. Okay, now we're over to the section of the bench where I've got my power supply and thing like that. And it wants us to connect power to the board. So we're going to connect the negative lead to the power supply, which is that clip, to test point 1. And we're going to connect the positive to test point 2. And we get nothing. Nope. Which means somewhere I have done something stupid. Which, of course, I had the board oriented wrong, so yay me. And test point 2. Oh, look at that. We have a little LED, and it's kind of hard to see, but it's lit. And that's just about 5 volts, so let's bump that up to a little bit more. That's about 7 volts. That's a really old LED. But you can see that it's lit, and the board's right. So yay. Let's go on to the next step.